You hear laughing from the other room, but you're home alone. A knock at the door, and the black-eyed children want you to let them in. You drive by that abandoned house that everyone says is haunted, and a figure is standing in the window. You go for a hike, and you experience missing time. How long were you gone, and where did you go? You're camping, and you hear a voice calling you in the woods, but that sounds like your own voice. Every town in the world has its scary stories. This is the Local Legends Podcast.
Welcome back to the Local Legends Podcast. My name is Berton Moran, and I am going to be talking to you today about the Vallisca Axe murders in the murder house and a couple just strange things that have been going on with it. But before we get into that, I would like to apologize to you guys for not having a video out last week. I took the weekend off for my son's birthday. So yeah, that pretty much covers that. But before we get into the story of the Vallisca Axe murder house and some of the strange supernatural things that have been going on there, it's time to do some supernatural news. And I have actually found a pretty interesting one. This is coming out on January 19th, 2023. Couple spooked as CCTV footage shows dead family member walking their calm dog. Okay, this is coming out of Australia. A couple believe their CCTV may have captured the ghost of a family member trying to walk their dog from beyond the grave. Dad of two, Matthew Kane, was lying in bed when his wife, Lauren, spotted a mysterious figure while scrolling through the footage of their weekend on their motion sensor camera. The eerie clip shows a pale figure appear out of their old antique cabinet, walk with purpose alongside their Australian Shepherd dog before disappearing into thin air on Sunday night, January 14th. The 35-year-old construction company manager admits a look of terror came across his face, as the usual skeptical couple have been left wondering what else is out there. Even more creepy, the cabinet holds the ashes and urns of dead pets and relatives, alongside antiques from all over the world, leaving Matthew to hope that it was a relative and nothing more sinister. And one of the crazy things is, I actually found the clip, and I'm going to check it out right now. Sure enough. Okay, it looks like they're going to slow it down for me. This thing just appears out of nowhere. What the hell? I will try to post this on the YouTube video of this podcast, but man, that's an impressive one, because that's full-on apparition. Wow. If you, I don't know what to tell you guys. That's a pretty compelling video. Oh, man. Okay. Well, as long as it's a family member and it doesn't mean him any harm, that's pretty awesome. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the Vallisca Axe murder house. Now, if you guys did not know about this one happened, I believe, in 1912. Sorry about that. And it's an interesting one. So I'm going to give you the names of the people involved here that we know of. So Josiah B. Joe was his nickname. Moore, age 43. Sarah Montgomery Moore, age 39. Herman Moore, age 11. Catherine Moore, age 10. Boyd Moore, age 7. Paul Moore, age 5. Lena Stillinger, age 12. And Ina Stillinger, age 8. That's the name of the names and ages of the victims. Sometime around midnight between Sunday, June 9th, and Monday, June 10th, 1912, a person or persons entered a modest house in Vallisca, Iowa, and bludgeoned to death 8 people while sleeping there, including 2 adults and 6 children, aged 5 through 12. The killing became known as the Vallisca Axe murders and are easily the most notorious murders in Iowa history. Let me see here. The murder spawned nearly 10 years of investigation, repeating grand jury hearings, a spectacular slander suit, and a murder trial, and numerous minor litigation and trials. Sorry about that. The horrific crime made and broke political careers. That's insane. This is all coming off of IowaColdCases.com. On Sunday evening, June 9th, 1912, Josiah Joe Moore and his wife Sarah took their 4 children to the Children's Day service at the Presbyterian Church. Accompanying them were Lena, 12, and Ina Stillinger, 8, neighbors who had asked their parents permission to stay the night at the Moores. The Children's Day service was an end-of-the-year Sunday school program. Sarah Moore was a co-director, and her children performed their little speeches and recited along with the other Sunday school members. Sorry about this. They walked their 3 kids a block to their home. Cookies and milk ended the festive evening, and they all went to bed. Sometime after midnight, the killer or killers picked up Joe's axe from the backyard, entered the house, and bludgeoned to death all 8 occupants. By 7:30 a.m. on June 10th, Mary Peckham, an elderly neighbor to the west, became concerned that the Moore house seemed quiet and deserted. She called Joe's brother Ross, a local drugstore owner, I'm guessing, who arrived at about 8 a.m., looked around. To his cautious inspection of the downstairs revealed 2 figures covered with a sheet the back bedroom. He had also saw blood on the bedstead. That's a weird name. Ross stepped back away from the crime scene and called Joe's hardware store, telling the employee Ed Selly to fetch Marshal Henry Hank Horton because something terrible had happened. Hank arrived about 8:30, went through the house, and found, as he told Ross when he came out, somebody's murdered in every bed. The particularly clean murder weapon was left against the south wall of the downstairs bedroom, where the visiting Stillinger girls were found. The killer added 2 bizarre touches to the murder scene. The first was a 4-pound piece of slab bacon leaning against the wall next to the axe. The murderer also had searched dresser drawers for pieces of clothing to cover all the mirrors in the house, and the glass to the entry doors. On the kitchen table was a plate of uneaten food and a bowl of bloody water. I'm guessing where he washed up. All the victims were found in their bed with their heads covered with bedcloth, and all of their skulls battered about 20 to 30 times with the blunt end of the axe. That means, this is, yes, an axe murder, but he didn't use the sharp end of the axe. This guy, he beat them to death while they were sleeping. Until this point right now, I didn't realize just how, I obviously knew about this story before. I've studied this case a lot, but I would like to apologize to anybody if you guys think this might be a little too morbid, but it's a true story. The ceiling in the parents' bedroom and the children's room upstairs showed gouge marks apparently made by the upswing of the axe, meaning that whenever this guy was swinging upward after he hit the people in the head, the axe would actually get stuck in the ceiling and he'd yank it out and then hit him in the head again. Though Lena Stillinger's nightgown had been pushed up, she had been left exposed. Doctors concluded she had not been sexually abused. Lena also had bloodstains on her knees and alleged defense wounds on her arm. Now, she was the only one who actually had any defense. Everybody else was just dead asleep the entire time. The Moore Stillinger funeral service were held in Vallisca Town Square, June 12, 1912, with thousands in attendance. National Guardsmen blocked the streets, and a hearse moved toward the firehouse, where the 8 victims lay. Their caskets, not on display during the funeral, were later carried on several wagons to the Vallisca Cemetery for burial. The funeral cortege was about 50 carriages long. Now, this is going to get into one of the characters, I don't want to say characters because these were real people, but one of the people that I believe was very suspicious in the whole thing, and that's called the Reverend. At 5:19 a.m., the morning following the murders, the Reverend Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly left Vallisca on board a westbound train, westbound number 5 train, and allegedly told fellow travelers there were 8 dead souls back in Vallisca, Iowa, butchered in their beds while they slept, he said, even though the bodies had not yet been discovered. At 5:19 a.m. Now, if we go back up, Mary Peckham, that was by 7:30 a.m. that she had realized that nobody's really moving around. And this guy had known at 5:19 a.m. that 8 people were murdered. So this guy is very suspicious. And in all honesty, I believe that he might be the best chance of being the one that was the murderer. But here we go. Kelly arrived in Vallisca for the first time the Sunday morning of the murders and attended the Sunday school performance of the Stillinger Girls before departing early Monday. He returned 2 weeks later and, posing as a detective, joined a tour of the murder house with a group of investigators. That's odd. See, now that I did not remember, but that is something that a lot of serial killers will do, is go back to the place where they murdered someone, almost as if like some kind of sick thrill out of it. Authorities first became interested in Reverend Kelly a few weeks after the murders, after being alerted by recipients of his rambling letters. Kelly, the son and grandson of English ministers, had suffered a mental breakdown as an adolescent since immigrating to America with his wife in 1904. Kelly had preached the Methodist churches across North Dakota, Minnesota, Kansas, and Iowa. He had been assigned to a visiting minister been assigned as a visiting minister to several small communities north of Vallisca, where he developed a reputation for odd behavior. He also had been convinced of sending obscene materials through the mail and had spent time in a mental hospital. A grand jury indicted Kelly for Lena Stillinger's murder, and he was interrogated throughout the summer of 1917 while in jail awaiting trial. On August 31st at 7 a.m., Kelly signed a confession to the murder, saying, "God had whispered to him to suffer the children to come on to me." Kelly recants his confession at trial, and his case went to the jury on September 26th. The jury deadlocked 11-1 for acquittal. A second jury was immediately impaneled, but acquitted the Reverend in November. So he went to court twice for this, apparently. 2 different juries, and they both found him innocent. No one else had ever been tried for the murders. The crime remains one of the most horrific, unsolved mass murders in American history. I can't remember what year it was, but they did. I think you can watch it on Netflix or one of the other streaming services, but they made a feature film called The Vallisca Axe Murders or something like that. And at the beginning of the movie, they have a guy who plays a reverend or the reverend, and he is possessed by the devil or something, and he kills the entire family, which I'll be honest with you, it was an interesting movie. It was fun to watch. None of that was accurate at all within like the actual story, which makes it kind of funny. I believe the guy who played the Reverend was the skinny guy who played in Twister, People Under the Stairs. Anyways, it was a good movie, not historically accurate at all. The house that they were in, huge compared to the actual house. Since then, since the murders, the Vallisca Axe Murder House has actually become a tourist destination for paranormal investigators such as myself. I haven't been there, but I do plan on going. And obviously, in recent years, rumors of it being haunted, people seeing apparitions, things moving on their own, disembodied footsteps, all those kind of things you could be, recorded there. If you look up Vallisca Axe Murder House, then just type it into YouTube. You'll find a million videos of it. But one thing that stood out to me more than anything happened, I believe it was 2014. Here is the article. Paranormal investigator stabs himself during a visit to the Iowa Axe Murder House where 8 people were killed. Starts out with, keep sharp objects out of this Iowa house. A paranormal investigator stabbed himself in the chest while spending the night at a haunted Iowa house made infamous for an unsolved axe murder 100 years ago and left 8 people, including 6 children, dead. Robert Larson Jr. ended his visit to the Vallisca Axe Murder House in southwest Iowa early Friday with critical stabbing injuries that the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office say were self-inflicted. The wood-framed house at 508 East 2nd Street in Vallisca remains much as the same as it did on June 10th in 1912. The evening, someone bludgeoned to death the family of Josiah, Sarah, and their 4 children, and 2 children visiting for the night. The creepy crime scene is the town's biggest draw and attraction. Paranormal investigators from around the world take their guided tours and shell out the $428 to spend the night in the home, which has no electricity, running water, or according to the website. That was weird that they even included that. It's unclear how the 37-year-old man visiting from Rhinelander, Wisconsin managed to stab himself, but authorities said he was there for a recreational paranormal investigation when cops got the call around 2:45 a.m. Larson was eventually flown for treatment in Omaha, some 80 miles northwest of the small town, Iowa town. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that this is what happened. This guy stabbed himself whenever he was at the place here. On November 7th, this is a different article. On November 7th, a visitor to the world-renowned Vallisca axe murder house in Vallisca, Iowa, was rushed to a nearby hospital after being found with a self-inflicted stab wound to the chest. The house is a familiar sight to paranormal investigators who proclaimed that it must be one of the most haunted places in America following the 1912 murders of 6 children, 2 adults whose skulls were crushed while they slept in their beds. The crime was never solved, and the visitor to the house regularly reported emotional, physical, and supernatural disturbances in their overnight visit. They play with the children, they hear voices, they get pictures of anomalies, says Martha Lynn, 77, who bought the house in 1994, restored it to its 1912 condition, stripping the place of all electricity and plumbing, and turning it into a tourist attraction. I have notebooks from just the last 2 years full of what overnight experiences people have had. Very few of them go away without experiencing something. So let me see. Earlier this month, which was obviously 2014, Robert Stephen Larson Jr., 37 of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, was one of such visitors. He arrived with a group of friends for a recreational paranormal investigation, according to Montgomery County Sheriff Joe Sampson. From my understanding, he was alone in the northwest bedroom, and the rest of the party was outside. He called for help on their mobile two-way radios, Sampson told me. His companions found him stabbed in the chest and apparently self-inflicted wounds. Called 911, and Larson was brought to a nearby hospital before being helicoptered to the University Medical Center in Omaha. According to the Montgomery County Police report, the incidents happened around 12:45 a.m., which is said to be the approximate time that the 1912 murders of Josiah and Sarah Moore, along with their 4 children and 2 visiting girls, took place. So yeah, they're saying that this guy stabbed himself at the same time that the murders took place in 1912. I don't know if they're trying to link it to a supernatural thing or if it was a supernatural thing. It looks like they're just going over the story of what happened there. Let me see something. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all that goes into, and then it kind of tells the story of what happened again. I did read an article at one point where Robert Stephen Larson Jr. said that he didn't really stab himself, that he was possessed or felt compelled to do so. That might be misinformation, but I don't know if there ever became a real reason as to why he stabbed himself. It's an interesting story, and I'm not saying it wasn't paranormal, because it sure as hell could have been. Damn. It's an interesting case for sure. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. I'm sure you have. It's a pretty famous one for Iowa. But yeah, I wanted to go over this case for a while. At one point, years ago, I actually made an entire video about this. And then for some reason, my computer malfunctioned. Like 2 days worth of work completely gone. And I just decided never to make that video again because I'd already done all that work. But yeah. There's a terrible, terrible tragedy what happened here at this house. And it's a terrible tragedy what happened with that investigator. He did survive, thank God. You can visit the Vallisca Axe Murder House. You can just go and set up a time to spend the night. I believe it's $428 to spend the night there. Not a bad price for what you get. Pretty impressive. You can also just take day tours, which are guided tours. So yeah, if you're ever in Vallisca, take the time, go to the Axe Murder House. Don't take anything sharp with you. But this is going to be a shorter episode, but it is the end of the episode, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me. I am sorry that I did not put this video out last week. I hope you all have a wonderful time. And again, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Local Legends Berton Moran. follow me on Twitter at Berton Moran, Instagram at Berton Moran. You can look me up on Facebook at Berton Moran. Or you can follow me on TikTok at Bam Moran. Now with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And thank you guys for coming with me on this one.